my zone. I feel like I'm alone. I feel like I'm unknown to the world that's full of clones. My originality's focused on principalities broken. I'm loaning my heart and soul to the game that's scared to pay it back. And failure is a motherfucker. The strength to go on and believing in another sucker who don't see the vision in you. So you gotta work harder times two. Gotta make it do what it do with the limited sources you have. Your dream is still a find that motivation in you. And
Man, happy Valentine's Day to all the lovers out there. And for all of y'all that's going to find out if you truly the main one or the side one, if you got your gift or not, or if you got left on red, happy Valentine's Day to y'all too, and all the controversies that may follow y'all on official side chick and side dude day on the 15th. But it's also Gentleman's Talk Wednesday. It's a very important day. It's a beautiful day because, as you can see, it is just myself and it is Mr. Outlaw over here because we are going to continue with the From the Sidelines Chronicles. So today we are going to have chapter 8, and we are going to have the official interview with Outlaw himself. We are going to do what we do best. We're going to peel back that beautiful curtain. We're going to let you guys understand and see the personalities of the people that you continue to see every single Wednesday and Monday and Thursday and Friday on From the Sidelines, so that you can truly understand what makes these people who they are. So, Mr. Outlaw, tell the people a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you come from, that type of jazz like that, what you want the people to know.
Uh, that's always a really broad question. Like, talk about yourself. I feel like nobody really just is ready to just off the top of their dome just spit about themselves. But long story short, born and raised in Houston, 90s kid for life, best decade, best cartoons, best games. If you refute that, I will fight you for it. Let's
He
see.
said what he said.
I'm a dad. It's the best blessing I've ever had in my life. It's made me a better person every day. You know, having a little girl who looks like me and acts like me, even on the in her worst ways. You know, acts like me, and I feel like it's given me a lot of perspective. You know, made me a more gentler and more aware person. And aside from that, man, I like to have fun. I love to travel, shoot the shit with friends. I'm always down for an adventure. Whatever it is, I'll try it once.
Okay, so as you can hear, you sound like you're a pretty well-rounded guy. Of course, you said it. The '90s is the best decade when it comes to the cartoons and all that type of stuff like that. So let's start there. I think that's a phenomenal place to start. What was the first cartoon you fell in love with as a kid in that '90s time frame?
Man, it's a toss up between the old Scooby Doo, Rugrats, and the Spider-Man animated series. Those are like
Mm.
my three like core memories of watching cartoons as a kid.
You can't go wrong with those, especially that classic Spider-Man, man. That's a very slept on show from back in that time. Like it just like X-Men in the '90s. Just one of them things that was just a little bit ahead of its time. Like definitely could have if it would have came out in like the 2010s, it would have changed a lot. But thankfully it came out during our childhood.
Absolutely. And
So
I feel like it inspired a lot of great Spider-Man stories to this day. Everything kind of draws inspiration from that old cartoon.
yeah, and then you see we got I think Madam Web, which comes out I want to say Friday.
I heard it wasn't all that great, but
Time will tell. Look, I'll give it a good college try. I
I'll
don't
watch
know how to
anything when
feel
it comes
about
to
it.
streaming for free.
I, you know how I go. So, what do you think as a kid that now has it in the adult life? Like, what has you still constantly having that drawback to those nostalgia cartoons? Like, what keeps you going back to them?
Man, this might sound controversial, but I feel like nostalgia is like basically positive trauma. Like I feel like I can't really word that any better, but I feel like nostalgia is like those positive core memories that you just can't get away from. And I feel like our generation in particular is very nostalgic. And I feel like we always go back to what made us feel good as kids because as adults, life is kind of rough. I think we might have it worse than any other generation. So we kind of cling to what we loved as kids, more so than any generation.
I definitely buy that with a side of fries. That's pretty accurate. especially with the Super Bowl that just happened. Of course, all of us tuned in to watch Usher because that he was a massive part of our childhood, like, and a big part of our adulthood too. So like
Yeah,
he's always been around. So watching that performance, it gave us exactly what you talked about, which was that nostalgia of like hearing them songs. You're like, dang, I was in college when that came out. Oh man, I was in middle school when that came out. Or like, you start really, it just going back to those nostalgic times brings back some of the best memories. Some
exactly.
worse, but it brings back a lot of the best memories where you're able to just be like, man, them times were dope.
It's like time traveling for your feelings.
It's an accurate statement. It's a very accurate statement. It's how you and I talk about, them Saturday morning cartoon days, man. Like waking up, 6 o'clock in the morning, not caring about changing your clothes, getting you a big ass bowl of cereal, and watching cartoons until noon. Like that. That's really what it is.
Exactly. And actually, speaking of Usher, I'm a date myself here, but the very first cassette that I ever owned was Usher's single "My Way."
Okay.
Yeah, and I played that thing on repeat till the damn cassette failed.
Look, that's hard to do if the cassette actually failed. A lot of these kids didn't go through the cassette to CD to MP3 play or to MP3 player to now basically just streaming. Like nobody really buys albums anymore.
Right.
So I get that. So staying on a music tip, because my understanding is you're an extremely eclectic individual, but what would you say is your go-to genre of music? Like what genre of music describes you? What's your personality?
Man, like you said, it's kind of eclectic. It's all over the place because I've made like different playlists on iTunes. I got like a hard rock playlist. I got a punk rock playlist. I got some sad Marvin's Room type of music playlist. I got a R&B playlist. It's just whatever I'm feeling, I'm gonna listen to, and I just feel like there's really no way to pin down one genre that's going to describe me as a person because I'm gonna listen to anything and everything depending on the mood.
Okay. I can get down with that. I mean, I understand that, being eclectic myself, it makes all too much sense. Like we all of my music is tied 100% to how I'm feeling or what's going on that day, or if I'm about to go work out or if I'm about to go do a sporting event. Like, all my music is tied to that. So let's dive in a little bit deeper. Let's talk about your childhood. Like, talk to the people, how would you describe your upbringing?
Man, I would say it was basically like perfectly balanced with good and bad. I got a lot of positive memories and I got a lot of memories I'd rather not remember. My our father, he did before I was even born. My mom and dad, they didn't go the distance at all. My mom, she had me young, and she wasn't a bad mom, but I feel like she wasn't emotionally prepared to be a mom. So a lot of the child rearing fell to my grandparents, in my youth. And when I turned about 10, my mom pretty much took over, from that point on. And we had some great times. I feel like she was more like an older sister than a mom, in the best and worst ways possible. And I grew up like, playing games, reading comic books, watching anime, going outside and throwing rocks at your friends and stuff. But, aside from the positive stuff, there were some experiences that were less than positive, and I feel like there was a point in my life where I wish that it never happened to me. But I also realized had I not had those good and bad experiences, I wouldn't be who I am today.
Experiences make our lives. Absolutely make our lives. So kind of going from your childhood to, we'll say, let's say your high school years. Can you pinpoint back to a moment that changed your life to get you on this trajectory that you're on now?
I'd say one of the most pivotal moments, like in my preteen to teenage years, was like my mom finally settled down with one dude. And at first, me and him, we didn't really jive together at all. But over time, I really grew to love him and appreciate him. as a father figure, and I felt like he understood me better than anybody else. And I feel like, he passed away 10 years ago now, but even though he's gone, I still hold on to a lot of the things that he taught me. And like, I feel like in some ways I'm still trying to carry on his legacy as a man and as a father. Like, I feel like a lot of folks give step parents a bad rap, but that man loved me just like I was his actual flesh and blood, and I've always held on to that. You ain't gotta, your kids don't have to be your biological kids for you to love them.
Amen to that. So how was the in going from we'll start from high school because that's when it really matters to the early stages of like your college years. How would you quantify and describe your dating life? How was the dating life of Mr. Outlaw himself?
Man, it was kind of confusing, dude. Like, I just I had a real affinity for girls, but like I felt like I was still really awkward and kind of discovering myself, and I kind of didn't really have the riz at that time, and it took me a while to figure out who I was as an authentic individual before I could actually start having success, dating. Like, I had girlfriends throughout my teenage years, and it just that was all silly puppy love type of shit. Like, there was nothing really substantial until like my senior year where I actually had like my first real serious girlfriend, and it wasn't a healthy relationship at all. But at that age, what relationship is healthy?
Hell, at that those relationships feel every relationship in high school, at least for me, in my opinion, it felt like it was more of a reality show than anything else. Like very, very few of us that when we graduated did any of them couples last. There was a few. There 100% was a few, but not nowhere
Just
near.
because they lasted does not mean they're happy. Because I know some people that are high school sweethearts and can't fucking stand each other 15 years later.
I mean, there definitely are those who have I think we'll use the word settled. I think that's the right way to go about it.
And I feel like at that age, man, what do you really know about love? What do you really know about life? I'm not saying that you can't find an authentic love at an early age, but I feel like there's so much to see out there in the world. I'm not talking about like hoeing around this thing. I'm just talking about life experiences in general. You say, you find somebody at 16, 17. How are y'all really gonna grow together when all y'all know is each other?
Yeah, because you at that age, I mean,
You haven't
you
lived.
haven't even yeah, you haven't lived, you haven't done anything, you haven't turned 21 yet, and life gets real interesting when you turn 21
I
because
feel
that's
like
when
21 is
you
that
kind of
turning
have.
point.
Yeah, because you have all the freedoms now. You can start, buying. You can start buying weapons. You can start buying alcohol. Like, you can start. You can really like. Okay, cool. I went to Vegas when I was 18. That's not the same thing as going to
It
Vegas
is
when you're
not.
21. That's a whole different experience.
You might actually
So
start your first career at 21,
you're right, or you 100% might, or at that stage you should
graduating
be.
college.
Assuming you graduated at, let's say, 18 from high school, and you turn 21, you're probably a junior, maybe getting ready for your senior year. So you're damn near about to start the corporate world, and
Where
there's no
real
telling
life
how much.
starts.
Yeah, and there's no telling how much change is going to happen in that time frame. So in that frame, we're going to stay in this frame for a little bit. We'll kind of put you on the spot just because sometimes we got to have a nice little ha moment, if you will. What would you say was one of your more embarrassing dating moments in that early stage, in that high school, right towards the end, early college time frame?
Man, I feel
Yes,
like
you
I
do.
got more embarrassing stories in my mid and late 20s than like, early, 20s, late teens. Um, man, I feel like my teenage love life was more so just stupid Degrassi type of heartbreak. Like, oh,
Mm.
I don't want to talk to you anymore because of this guy. He's this, that, and the third, and I'm gonna break up with you because you didn't talk to me for a week type of shit. Like, I don't know, man. Like, my first serious girlfriend in high school, she actually broke up with me on Valentine's Day.
Damn.
But the reason behind it is like kind of I she found out that she was pregnant and she didn't know how to tell me, so she broke up with me.
Damn. Well, I do understand the types of high schools that we went to, so like part of that's not surprising either, but it's definitely it's still out of pocket.
She swears up and down that it wasn't Valentine's Day exactly, but I remember it was Valentine's Day. I remember, and I ain't never liked Valentine's Day ever since then.
But I mean, but to take it a step deeper though, like damn the fact that she broke up with you because she found out she was pregnant. What it means is she cheated on you first, found out she was pregnant, and then broke up with you.
She swears up and down it was mine, and she came back a month later saying that she had a miscarriage and this, that, and the third. And I'll never know the truth, But man, that was 15, 16 years ago at this point, so it don't really, make no difference in my life.
Yeah, you ain't finna magically pop up with some, illegitimate child,
I'm not our father, and I love that man, but I'm not our father.
Hey, look, Papa was a Rolling Stone. But so going into your college life, like what was your drive to one to go to college, and what did you decide to study in college to figure out your future career path?
It's crazy. Like, I felt like I was kind of pushed to go to college because that's what was expected of every millennial. They told us up and down through high school, you go to college, get a degree, get a good job, you get to have a white picket fence and live happily ever after. That ain't quite the case. But I went to college, more so to appease my family than to really, do it for myself. And I just honestly, I got to college and had a bunch of freedom, and I just didn't really care. Like, I barely went to class. I barely studied. I barely focused. I was more so enthralled with the actual freedom of being, a young adult, getting to smoke weed and drink and go to parties and shit like that. Uh, I couldn't. I couldn't handle it. I'm surprised I even graduated to begin with.
So you was thoroughly enjoying the glamour side of college that we all see in the movies,
Exactly.
and there was a point in time where you're like, man, bump the rest of this stuff. I'm trying to get to the weekend because I already know what's gonna happen.
And it's crazy because like I actually had good grades in high school, but I didn't really apply myself because I was bored out of my mind. I didn't like school, but I still made good grades. I probably could have been like the top 100 if I would have tried harder, but I was more worried about chasing girls and skipping school and going to the mall. And I kind of regret that now. But anyways, my grandmother wanted me to go to school to be a pharmacist. I could not care less for it. I tried, thinking about computer science and communications and this, that, and the third, but I actually took a psychology class on a whim because I know what the hell I was doing. I was just signing up for classes just because, and I actually really enjoyed it. I told myself, man, given everything that I've gone through in life, I want to become a counselor, therapist, what have you, and help people. And I actually finished with a bachelor's in psychology. I want to go back and get my master's one of these days when I got master's time and energy and money. But that's kind of where my passion is like just helping people and guiding people.
Okay, it's a very it's a very telling story. I learned some stuff. I like learning stuff. But yeah, you're right. Getting that in this economy, having a master's degree money is definitely a task.
I already got student loans. I don't know if I can handle anymore, man. I ain't gonna lie
Hey,
to you.
hey, maybe we'll get lucky. We'll hit a recession where everything will be cheap again.
One could hope.
One can hope, because then the money that we make will be substantial and be good again. We can feel what it feels to be kind of rich. So, kind of pivoting. So, yeah, you did what you did. You went to college. You enjoyed the freedoms of college, the partying, all the good stuff. You still ended up graduating despite all those things. How much have you changed from high school grad to college grad from a guy perspective, like not the fatherhood part, we'll get there eventually, but I'm we're learning about the character of you, like how much have you changed from high school to graduating college in that frame?
Man, I feel like I made like a whole 180 once I got to college. Cause like I said, in high school, I was still kind of like really young and awkward and more introverted and shy. But once I got to college, I kind of really discovered myself and became much more extroverted and outspoken and more confident and a little bit full of myself. And I met a lot of interesting people, like a lot of characters you wouldn't believe actually existed, and it really expanded my worldview. Because you, as a kid, teenager, you kind of get stuck in your little area, and that's kind of all you know. But you get out to college, that's like damn near the real world. You start meeting people from all walks of life and different backstories, and it's just like, and it really expands your mind. And I feel like even though college is hella expensive, I feel like there is a lot to gain, not just academically, but socially, meeting
Hmm.
new people.
For sure. No, I get that. So, what was the what would you say in your opinion was the turning point in college for you? Like, when did that switch finally click? Despite all the partying and all the fun stuff, where it's like, okay, I need to go ahead and get this thing done, get graduate, and kind of really get on this adult tip.
I'll tell you exactly what it was, man. I did like 3 or 4 years of college, totally not interested in it. And I was telling my mom I'm about to drop out. So I actually took like a year off from college and like just straight worked. And I had a manager at one of my old jobs, and he was honest to Moses, kind of a fucking asshole. And one day I had asked for a raise, because I felt like I was a hard worker. I felt like I did a lot. And he was like, the money you're asking for, you're not worth that much money. You don't have a degree. You don't have, this, that, and the third. And I was like, I was honestly fucking devastated. I ain't never been hurt that much. That hurt before in my life. Like that man really almost brought me to tears, telling me I wasn't worth the money I was asking for. And one of my homeboys, he pulled me aside and he was like, Josh, forget that man. You almost done with school. Why don't you go back and prove him wrong? And I was like, man, fuck. I don't even know how much time I got left in school. I probably got to take like 20 more classes to graduate, and this and that. And he was like, don't worry about how long it's going to take. The time is going to pass no matter what you do. You can either spend these next years going to school or spend these years not doing it. There's still going to be the same amount of time that passed. And I was like, fuck it, you right. So I went to the school one day, talked to the counselor. I was nervous as hell. I was like, man, he'll probably be like, you got a long ways to go. You're gonna be here for fucking years. You ain't nowhere near done. Counselor was like, you got 7 classes to graduate. I was like, 7 to graduate. And she was like, yeah, you just need 7 more and you'll have your you have your degree. Couldn't fucking believe it. I signed up for them classes so fucking quick. I did 3 classes one semester. Then my last semester, I did the final 4, working 50 hours, had no social life. I just knocked it out because I wanted to prove that I could go to school and actually be somebody.
Mm. So you really had a fuck it moment.
I had an absolute fucking moment. I wanted to prove that like that money. I wanted to prove that he was full of shit and he know what he was talking about when it came to me.
Yeah, I mean that's hey. Sometimes we get the strangest swift kicks in the ass, and sometimes it comes from the most unlikely places.
Yeah, and as it turns out, man, me and that manager actually ended up being pretty good friends after the fact. And I don't hold it against him now, and I actually appreciate him giving me that swift kick in the ass because it got me to where I'm at now.
So maybe that was just his not so empathetic approach of like, look, this type of job. I don't know what you were doing at the time, but this type of job, this ain't you. Like this ain't finna be you for the rest of your life. Don't make a career out of working here because it's not gonna get you where you're trying to. It's not gonna get you where you sit today. Type of
Exactly.
situation.
And as you said, he wasn't a very empathetic person. He was a much more old school black guy. But looking back on all the advice that he gave me, I can tell that he cared. He couldn't put it no more gentle than he could. And sometimes you need those kind of people in your life. Not everybody's going to tell you what you want to hear in the nicest way possible. Some people just going to lay it on you like a sack of bricks, but the bricks have got truth in them.
Yeah, and that's the one thing for our generation that I think is lost in the generation, this new generation, is they don't have enough of those unapologetic, transparent OGs that would be like, look, man, fuck all that. Like this is what it is. I'm not finna sugarcoat it. We're gonna throw that sugar away and throw some salt on this shit. And I'm gonna tell you what it is. And then you just kind of be like, you're like, oh, okay. Like,
I
you know,
feel
they'll
like
hit you with that.
sometimes you got to get your feelings hurt to make real change.
Yeah, and the way they did us, they threw the salt in our eyes and squeezed the lemon juice. They was like, look, man, this is like this is what you're gonna get. But when you get to that point of that of achieved success, that's the first thing you think back on is that conversation with that individual. You know, whether it was our parents, whether it was some, you know, some manager from a previous job, whatever. You're like, damn, that dude was right, or that chick was right, or that, you know, that lady was right, or whatever the case might be. But it's like I
They were
hated it when
right.
that.
It just they didn't like how it sounded, but the
No,
message is still the
and
message.
and that's where and like for us, we are a lot more sensitive in how we speak to the current generation because of the level of sensitivity, because it's like the rest of the thick alligator skin, it's like it died with us. It's like the kids that came after us shed that skin and it's just very soft like Charmin tissue paper.
But you gotta wonder, man, was the way that we were raised and talked to, was it necessarily right? I mean, it got us where
It's a
we are
valid
right
question.
now, but was it right to talk to us the way that we got talked to?
But see, when we have to think about it, I the way I look at it is like this. Same way with parenting back when we were younger versus now too, is everything is based on the time period. So honestly, for them, the way they talked to us was still a more watered down version of how they were talked to, because it was considerably worse
It was a lot worse back
for
in the
sure.
70s and
It-
80s, you
yeah,
know?
and there was probably a lot more expletives and everything else inserted in that conversation. So, what I feel like what we got was probably some of the most real and genuine that you could get, because it had a level of delicacy to it, but it was still harsh enough where it would stick. Because the problem is when we push it out now, we have to do it with kid gloves, so it doesn't have the same impact. So they hear it, but they
They
not
don't feel it.
listening. Exactly. They hear it, but it's going out the other ear, but but they don't feel it and they not listening. And we always talk about the difference between hearing and listening to something. Yeah, I heard you, but did you listen?
And
And
did you
that's and that,
understand?
exactly. And if you didn't understand, did you ask? Because that's another thing. But continuing on this nice little train here. So you graduate college, you finally hit that ultimate success. You got into the adult workforce, work world. How did the dating life shift for you at that point? Now that you had a much better mindset, you were more focused now, because you're like, you know what, I'm about to go get this big money now. I got this degree. You know what they told us going through school: go to college, get your degree, go get the big time paying job. Like, how was the mindset and how was it for you at that time? Now,
As far as dating,
yes,
I was still a hoe. That didn't change shit. I was still out there chasing. I really didn't have any, real idea of what I wanted, like I was just still out there just living life. And, in the back of my mind, I always told myself I wanted to have a family and kids one day, but I didn't meet nobody that really made me want to settle down and have that life. Not until, a couple of years back and, I met the mother of my child and I felt like that could have been it, that was my turning point.
I get you. And of course, we had everything that was sprinkled in between before. 'Cause you and I we have a very long history of everything that happened prior to us becoming the fathers that we are now. So pivoting to fatherhood, what was your initial thoughts, feelings, and reactions when you found out you were going to be a father?
Man, it's crazy because like my daughter was planned, like that was totally like we want to do this. It was not an accident, I was all for it. And she told me shortly after New Year's, and I was just over the moon. I was elated. I was so happy that it was finally happening, and I told myself I wanted to have a son, and it was for selfish reasons. Because I felt like if I had a son, I wouldn't have to change much about who I was as a person, and that was just me being selfish and unhealed and immature. But I think having a daughter has actually been like my biggest blessing. It's made me change dramatically.
Being a girl dad. So you wanted a boy, you ended up having a girl. So how soon into being a girl dad did you start to feel the changes where you were starting to, because I know this happens to a lot of girl dads, but when did you start turning into where you were able to kind of tap into your slightly more sensitive side?
I'll tell you what, man, I was giving her a bath one evening. She might have been maybe about 3 months old, man. And I felt like, yeah, I was a dad, but I felt like it didn't really hit me. Like, yeah, this is my kid. She looks just like me. The world kept turning. I'm just like looking at her in the bathtub. I'm just like, I started crying. I was like, holy shit, this is my fucking kid. Like, oh shit. And from that point on, I just kind of became a little bit more in tune with my emotions and just really more appreciative of her for making me kind of more of an emotional person.
I feel that. I feel like all of us girl dads, we all had that moment, whether we want to talk about it or not. We all had that moment where whether it, it happened early in the first couple months, or in your case, saying one day you was just, giving little mama a bath, and then it just kind of, it all hits you. But when it hits, it hits.
It hit
So
hard.
so describe to the people your relationship with your daughter. What is the dynamic with you and your daughter?
Man, it's crazy because like people will look at us now and think we're like super duper close and best friends and this and that, and it's true. But honestly, for the first 6 to 8 months, she did not like me. She didn't want nothing to do with me. If I got left alone with her, I was nervous and anxious. I didn't want to do it sometimes because like she would start crying and pitching a fit, and like I didn't know how to console her because I couldn't console myself. I didn't have the patience for it. But man, I got laid off from a really great job on April Fool's Day of all fucking days.
Damn, not on April Fool's Day.
I got laid off on April Fool's Day 2020 due to COVID. Sent
Mm,
my black ass home, and I was stuck with my daughter and her mother for for 4 months before I found a job. So I spent 4 months at home with just my kid, and we got super duper close, man. And even though those were some trying times, I would never take it back because it gave me the chance to actually sit down and be with my daughter. And ever since then, we've been thick as thieves.
I love that, and I love it when like I said, we're having this conversation, and I get to admit it from the outside looking in, and it's like and a lot of people they know our dynamic, but they really don't know our dynamic. But you actually helped me become a father because I was able to watch you be a girl dad first, which is crazy. Me being the big brother, the oldest of all of our siblings, but I learned a lot more from. Of course, we learned from our sisters and everything else. They all had kids before us, but watching you specifically because you had the girl, and I watched the dynamic. We send the snaps to each other that I'll never forget when I helped you move from your apartment to the house, and we got this heavy ass couch, and we go towards the door. And Lord, here come this little girl. No, Daddy, don't leave. And runs and put on her little Crocs and followed us all the way to the damn U-Haul. And I was like, bro, because I had never seen separation anxiety like that in person. So I was like, is that what it's like? Like in my mind, I'm like, is that what it is? Is that fatherhood? Is that what it looks like for that little girl to not even want you to be remotely out of her sight? So for me, being able to watch you do that for the first, I think 3 years, yeah, because yeah, no, 2 years, because at the time, yeah, it was 2 years of just kind of going through that and then watching her grow, from being the little short big head girl to now being the slightly taller big head girl. It was
She
just
still got a
like
big ass head, yeah.
I mean, hey, we look. I think that's genetics at this point. We all got big ass heads. Mine do. That's little body, big fro over there. So we already know. So you played a very instrumental role for me, whether you know it or not. But I was able to literally, and I tell this to a lot of people, I was able to live vicariously through you and watch you raise your daughter and be like, man, okay, I kind of have an idea of how I can go about this. I just gotta get there.
Man, that warms my heart hearing that, man. Like I'm glad that you saw what I did with my daughter, and you taken it and you made it your own. Like, could believe me, I was not perfect. I made plenty of mistakes with my daughter, and I hope that you've avoided the vast majority of the ways that I was not parenting correctly. There's no manual for parenting, man. Every child is different, and you could get all the guidance you can get from somebody, but until you have your own, you really don't know.
Yeah. Oh, I take it as for me being a dad is no different than being a head football coach, man. You can have a playbook all you want to, but if you ain't got no audibles, you ain't got it. Like you gotta make some right on the money split decisions sometimes. Like especially in the potty training phase.
Man, you know, I don't know how much you watch Bluey, but I
Oh,
watch Bluey.
religiously.
Man, there was an episode of Bluey where like all the parents and kids got together to like do some kind of like I guess play date.
Hmm.
And one of the dads, Lucky's dad, he was old school and he didn't believe in like participation trophies and being soft for kids and this and that. And he wanted to show the kids how he was raised and shit. Man, all them kids got mad as hell. They was like, Lucky's dad fucking sucks, this and that, and just giving Lucky's dad a hard time. And Lucky's dad had to realize, man, this is a different generation. I can't treat these kids how I was treated. And that really stuck with me because that's kind of it's honestly true. We can't really do to our kids what was done to us.
For sure. But there are things that we 100% can take away from, what we had and implement them accordingly. Like, I do think a lot of the stuff that we went through as kids, it can be translated into the 2000s, or in our case, the COVID baby era. Because we have to rewrite it a little bit. But there's a
You gotta
lot of
tailor your
foundational,
message.
yeah, there's a lot of foundational principles to some of the stuff that we grew up on, like establishing independence, which I still think is extremely important.
100%.
Because otherwise, the problem that we have is the product of the 9/11 babies, which I always talk about this, and it's that extreme level of coddling, because we were in a situation where we almost lost a lot. So people panicked. And what do you do when you panic? You just start doing shit. And a lot of parents just said, I'm gonna give my child everything, but it's one thing to give them everything. It's another thing to give them things and teach them how to obtain other things. So that part of it got lost in translation from about 2001 to right about 2015, 16, realistically, like right before the pandemic. And then when the pandemic hit, here we go again. What are we going to do to make these kids different? And you and I are kind of seeing this now with our kids, establishing that independence, letting them be self-sufficient, because we've got to get back to that. We
Mhm.
cannot have children that don't want to leave their parents' sight. Like, we have to get to that age and stage again where we can just, mine's sitting over there right now. She not
Mind
bothering
her
me, but just
business.
like but just like you both know, because you've been to my house multiple times. If she needs something, she'll come get me. If not, she minds her own business. And I'm cool with that. Like, I don't have an issue with that. That's a different way of going about it, but it's my playbook. It's how my relationship is. And you do a lot of very similar things, like, but y'all also hang out, y'all watch anime together. She plays a Nintendo Switch with you. Y'all do a lot of stuff. You and I
That
go on
got
a
to be
lot
a
of
proud dad moment. Got
hey,
to be.
hey, it is.
When she
We
look at Netflix and points at Demon Slayer, I'm like, yes, yes.
That's what I'm talking about. So now,
But
being a man in his 30s, now that you've become, you're a dad, you've had all these different types of relationships, you've got, you've had the mother of your children in your life, and you are where you are now. Um Looking back between now and, let's just say, 5 years ago, what would you say was the biggest change in your life outside of fatherhood, to kind of really gear you up to being the man you are now?
biggest change between now and 5 years ago, man. Aside from fatherhood, honestly, I think it was when our dad became more emotionally available. Like our dad made a whole shift out of nowhere in his middle age and became much more family oriented. And he wasn't really like that when we were younger. So it was kind of a foreign concept to me, like, just dad is just wanting us all to get together just for the fuck of it. And I was kind of taken aback by that. And I was like, if he wants to make a change to be a better man at 40, 50 something years old, I got to give him a chance. And like, it felt nice having that cohesive family unit where all of our siblings and our dad were just together just because, nobody died. It wasn't nobody's birthday party. We were just getting together just to get together. And I felt like that made me want to be closer to people in general, like, my friends and family. Like, we didn't have to have a specific reason to get together. We could just do it just because, hey, I missed you. I love you. Let's hang out, stuff like that. And I feel like that's why now I throw a lot of events at my house just to get people together, you know, just to mingle, have these memories and this laughter and this joy together.
I
That's
buy that.
dope.
I get down with that. What you got, DJ Michael B? We done hit everything from childhood to the high school years to the early stages of dating to the controversy in college to the right before fatherhood, and then what you just tapped in on now. So what you got for him?
Well, shit, I know you personally, just like Jay does. So, let me ask you this, because I definitely wanted to come on here and ask you this because I didn't get to see this from the beginning. I started watching it, and then we just finally set a time when we were going to leave. So I was like, okay, cool, because my girlfriend was still in class. But when the hell did you become so good at gaming? Because that shit's annoying when we play Marvel vs. Capcom. I really thought I was good. And this dude came to the house,
I
to
remember exactly
your
what day
house,
you talking about too,
and kicked my ass like 7 times in a row. And I was like, bro, I really thought I was good at this game.
bro. The gaming tournaments at my house are epic. Whether it's Madden, Marvel versus Capcom, Mortal Kombat,
Me
Soul
and you on
Calibur,
2K.
like you and you on 2K had some epic battles. Like I remember that because I remember most of the championship matchups were between me and my
Man,
Y'all said out of 2K though. Y'all knew
yeah.
better.
I'll tell you this, Micah. So I grew up pretty much an only child. Like, yes, I have siblings, but my mom only had me. So for the vast majority of my life, all I had was myself. So I had to entertain myself. My mom, you know, she would spend time with me, this and that and the third, but like she wasn't gonna spend every waking moment keeping me entertained. So like she would buy me video games and that's kind of all I had. So shit, growing up, like I would just play video games and got really good at them. And I actually I actually played professional Halo 3 and Call of Duty at one point. I actually had like a clan that I was in, and we actually did tournaments and shit. And we were actually really, really good. But man, these kids nowadays, like they play that shit for life. Like they wake up in the morning, drink a monster, and hop on the duty. And I can't compete with them kids. I got an actual fucking career. I got a kid to worry about. I'm not that good no more.
Yeah, man.
I
I
had a
try to
clan on Halo, so I know.
Yeah, I'll try to hop on, you know, every now and then and play just, you know, for a couple of hours. And these kids, 360 no scope, drop shot and sliding across the fucking map. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, I just fucking spawned, dude. The
Then
nigga
don't
got a
no don't
fucking
don't forget the quick scoping motherfuckers.
quick scope and got a damn premium battle pass skin because he got to level 100 in 2 days. And I'm just like, I ain't got that kind of time, dude. I just wanted to just unwind and chill.
After work.
And now I'm pissed off.
And look, and that's how we became dad gamers.
Oh man.
It's a whole community of us now, just dad gamers. But look, life been so crazy. We ain't even been able to hop on the game in a hot minute, man. We used to hop on every Friday for Friday night Battlefield, excuse me. Then we would hop on one of them Saturdays or something. But
Do some
man,
late
look,
night gaming until what, like 1, 2 o'clock at night sometimes.
kind of like we did when we was kids, man, playing on the Nintendo 64 back in the day, man. Like
Yeah, the difference is you got work the next day.
work,
Still miserable
kids.
today.
We got adulting the next day.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I was in a Halo clan too. I never got to play in the tournaments. These dudes was raw. They were just like, "Oh, you got potential. Come on and play." And I started getting really good, and then I got a job, and I didn't hop on for like 3 or 4 months, and I went back on and that. And this was on Halo 3, and then that was it. That was it. Only real players know about dual needlers on Halo 2. That's only the real ones know that one.
Man, I'll tell you my first experience playing like a professional Halo 3 match. So on Halo 3, they got this gun called the battle rifle. It's a 3-round burst rifle. That is the gun to get, bro. You stick your
The
head
greatest.
out and somebody done shot you in the dome with them 3 bullets and you dead automatically, bro. Like it's like a damn laser. You can't stick your head out, look nowhere, cause and you dead. Like, and I just was like, these cats is unreal. So I played Halo 3 professionally for a minute, but it wasn't really my thing. But Call of Duty 4 dropped, and that changed the game for Call of Duty. Like that was the Call of Duty that made Call of Duty what it is now.
Call of Duty 4 is the original Modern Warfare, right?
Yeah, Modern Warfare 1. That's Call of Duty
Yeah.
4. Boy, I was tough on that game. I had like a 2.5 kill death ratio. I was like prestige 10. We played hardcore search and destroy in tournaments. We
Oh, I
was
love it.
cold.
I
We would
love it.
have our
That's
Turtle Beach
before all the
headsets and
hackers started getting in now.
Yeah,
yeah.
man. But I remember so I stopped playing Halo because I wanted to play Call of Duty 4 because I loved Call of Duty 4. So I got
That's
on
still my
Call of
favorite
Duty
shooter
4.
besides
Eh,
Battlefield Bad Company.
Man, that's
oh,
my claim to fame. Bad Company 2 is I was playing Black Ops, and then I was working at Academy at the time with a lot of mutual friends that Outlaw has, and then I'll never forget my man Daniel. Man, Daniel put me on. He was like, "Hey man, I want you to try this game," and he gave me Battlefield Bad Company 2, and I was like, "All right, let
and
me
you
give it a
never look
shot."
back.
And I never fucking looked back. I put Black Ops down so damn fast. I got my hands on that damn Saiga shotgun on Bad Company 2, and I was murking boys. I was like, first of all, I had never seen anything more chaotic in my life. I was like, this shit is crazy. And mind you, I'm early in my career of my other job. So I'm like, this shit is wild. Like, why haven't I seen a game like this before? And of course, you've seen how Battlefield took off after that. We went from Bad Company 2 to Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, Battlefield 5, Battlefield 1, like we in 2042 where we at now. And I remember this exactly when Battlefield 3 came out. Everybody's favorite Battlefield, at least for me. It's still my favorite one. It's still one of the goated Battlefield games. And we played on Operation Locker a whole bunch of Metro a lot. And I said, let me just go play, Black Ops one time. And I jumped back on a Nuketown matchup. Y'all know about Nuketown. My OGs know all about Nuketown. And I jumped on this server. It was like a random time. It was like 8 o'clock at night. And I went like 46-5. And I was like, yeah, I gotta go. I can't do this. This shit was I was like, this
See,
shit too easy. I gotta go back to
that's
Battlefield, bro.
that's exactly the point I was going to make when I jumped on Call of Duty. I sucked and I got good at Call of Duty 4, and I was like, my homeboy called me, was like, man, hop on Halo, bro. It's been a while, so I hopped back on Halo, and I got on Halo. Halo is all fantasy, like it's not
Yeah.
based on any kind of reality.
Mm.
I hopped on Halo and was just doing the most. Like I felt like the most untouchable person. Like I think in one game I had like 65 kills in a big team battle, and they were just like. Everybody on there was like, "Yo, how the hell are you so good?" I was like, "I've been playing Call of Duty. This is fake. Like you, there's no way you can kill me because I have to escape death on Call of Duty."
Yeah.
And you died real fast on Call of Duty.
Yeah,
Man, I
man.
came back Plasma King, boy. Them plasma grenades, boom, boom, every time.
Man,
Game
I would
life.
honestly, if I had an Xbox or a gaming PC, I'd still play Halo 3, man. I had good memories of Halo 3.
I love Halo 3. I liked every map on there, especially Valhalla. As soon as the match starts, you aim across with the battle rifle. As soon as they about to get on that thing, you shoot them in the head 3 times, like you said, and then their body just hit the thing, and you just see a floating body in the sky. Raining dead bodies.
I'll say one thing about like old school online gaming from when we was young. That shit made you tough, boy. Them cats in the lobby will call you all kinds of obscenities, and you just be like,
I I had old messages in my DMs from PS3 days, man. PS3, PS4 days, boy. Like I remember, I'll never forget. It was a time when Battlefield 3 was hot and everybody and their mom was playing it. And that's when you could get the platoons and everything else. You got platoon versus platoon wars going on and shit. And we had played this platoon. This was what did we do? It was like 18 on 18 or some shit. I think that's because Battlefield 3 had a cap of 32 per match. And we was going in. Like it was great. But then this dude one time, it had to be a young kid, had to be. So because he was like,
It always is.
He was like 7
a
levels
young
below
white
me.
kid.
Yeah, but he was like 7 levels below me. So he stabbed me. And Battlefield, when you stab somebody,
There's an
your gamer
actual
tag.
animation where you yank their
Yeah,
dog.
so he took my gamer tag and he teabagged me. And I was like, oh, okay. So okay, all right.
I remember those Halo days.
So I literally said, fuck it, I'm gonna find this motherfucker. Every time I seen this dude, I was stabbing him. I took that man's tags 10 fucking times in this matchup. I was so salty because I was like, I ain't got no problem. Look, if you got me, you stab me, you got me. But when you hit me with the teabag and I see it, now you disrespectful. I disrespectfully got to fuck you up now. So I went in on this dude. He sent me a message and called me. He called me a German Nazi, all this kind of crazy shit. And I responded
You
to him.
lucky he ain't call you the N-word.
So I laughed. So I was like, last time I checked, I defend this country. So I can't be a Nazi. But I would gladly take your tags again if I ever see you in a server with me. And I got out. like Battlefield got real disrespectful when they started letting you be able to take people's gamer tags and that bitch stuck to your wall. You can go look at all the tags you created. And if you took it more than once, it was like this person's gamer tag times 6 times 8, and I still had that dude on my wall of fame. Took his shit 10 times.
But you know what's different these days, bro? Back in those days, there was no party chat. There was
That's
just
true.
straight game chat. So you just had to talk to people.
And you had your squad, like you had your squad chat, and that's if all 4 of y'all got mics, it's on and popping. Like,
yeah, but before that, bro, you just had to just listen to it and just take it. Motherfuckers would call you all kinds of names. Now you could just go to just your party chat and you ain't got to listen to that shit.
100%. You just like, nah, I ain't got time for this shit. I'm gonna go back to the squad chat. We're gonna turn up.
I used to like Halo because they had the lobby chat before and after the game.
Oh
Call of Duty had that shit too. Call of Duty had the lobby chat before too.
Oh my god!
Wasn't that blasting Linkin Park and got hot micing and all that?
Boy, the hot micing, boy, that shit there, boy. I do not miss the hot micing, boy. That shit be
bruh. It's even worse on PS5 now because the freaking mic is in the controller and people forget to turn that crap off.
Oh, no, you can mute that shit though.
I know you can mute it.
Yeah,
people forget to mute themselves.
Yeah, hey, I mute them. I mute for them.
Like, I actually bought a new game today. It's called Helldivers 2. Do y'all remember watching Starship Troopers when we were kids?
Yeah,
of course.
It's basically Starship Troopers the game.
Okay.
I'm about to play that whole right now when I get off with y'all.
All right. So I had a recommendation that was brought to me. One of my coworkers, he told me, this is what he told me, his words, not mine. He said he been playing the new Suicide Squad game, and he said that shit was pretty live. He said it like so. Of course, you and I we deep dive into games like that. That no matter what happens in our girl dad life, we deep dive on games. So I done probably watched the same amount of time on these YouTube gameplay videos as you. So, but from what he said, he's like every single one of those cats have extremely unique abilities, but they all flow together. He's like the story actually isn't that bad. Now I ain't gonna lie, I did see the Wonder Woman cutscene. That's by far the funniest shit I've ever seen.
I just don't like how it takes place in the Arkham universe.
Yeah,
because I felt like that was the sacred timeline.
It is, and from what, because our first question I asked him, I was like, so is the fighting system like Arkham? Because if you're gonna be in that frame, like you gotta have the fighting system. And he said it was a lot more like, what did he say? Like Gears of War. So it was more along that lines. So I was like,
Gears of War.
I love Gears of War.
So I was like, okay, I can, you know what? I'll buy that for $1. Okay.
R.I.P. to all the Carmichaels that died in Gears of War. I'm still
gonna wait for the price of that game to drop.
How many brothers did he have? Because he died every game.
He died every game.
That man had a new brother every game.
But I miss old school online gaming, man. This new shit ain't what it used to be, bro.
It's not, bro. Like the people that's on there, the hackers that's on there,
the tryhards.
Like if you get to this point when you're a gamer and you have to hack a game so that like that's what I loved about Battlefield that made it so authentic is like you had to be good. Like the first time you shoot that random, your ass getting that muzzle climb, it's happening until you get that hand grip and you get the right sights. Like the grind was actually dope, but now you got cats using aimbot and all this other shit, and it's like, bro, that man ain't got no recoil on a weapon that's shooting 30 rounds like nothing. I'm like, come on, dog, let's be real. If you want a gun that's got stability, change that bitch to 3-round burst, and you good.
At this point, just give me a remade GoldenEye 64, and I'd be content.
Bro, I saw a video on Facebook, and apparently, so, and I gotta find the link. I have to find the link, and I'll send it to you. This dude there's a couple of these gaming shops that sell a modded out version of GoldenEye using the Super Mario characters. Craziest shit I ever. Hey, I'm talking about you could use Mario, Luigi, Waluigi, Yoshi. Like,
I was about to get this business.
But it's like, and instead of like shooting like the normal people, you shooting like the turtles and shit, like Bowser's little minions and shit. I was watching it on Facebook, and I was like, this shit kind of wild. Like, I would imagine playing a GoldenEye modded out with Mario characters. Like, I was like, that should actually be kind of dope.
You saw that mod for Mortal Kombat with like all the Disney princesses.
No,
it looked kind of live. It looked kind of live.
I play the fuck out that game. Like, well, I see a lot of them videos on Facebook where they mod out like Mortal Kombat and they take like actors and like AI them out and shit. Like, I'm like, can I get a game like that? Because they did one that had like Pennywise and like Freddy Krueger, like had all the villains, all the
I feel
all the
like we're
killers.
long overdue for like a horror movie fighting game.
Yes, I agree.
Like, give me
Like
Candyman versus Pinhead or something.
we've
Oh,
had like Jason Voorhees and like Freddy Krueger in a Mortal Kombat
Predator
game,
and Mortal
but we
Kombat.
haven't had them
hey,
all.
I just wanted to pop in with y'all before I head out. I gotta hit up the road, man. I had to ask you the gaming question though. It was on my soul to ask you that one.
I'm
Mikey,
about to
you
go
can
at that
get the
concert.
business anytime you want on
Yes, sir.
Marvel vs. Capcom.
You stop it. You stop that. I stopped playing after I played you. You made me retire. I knew I wasn't good then.
You don't want to see
Boy,
me on Smash Brothers. I hurt your feelings on Smash Brothers.
I ain't played Smash Brothers in a long time.
Oh, don't worry. We both got Nintendo Switches. We can always turn up for that. That's easy.
I don't have a Nintendo Switch, so I'll work on that.
Oh no. You just gotta show up. We got the joysticks for that. Don't you worry.
I got plenty of controllers. Whenever you want it, you can get it.
Y'all really wanted that bad? Y'all really want to lose that bad?
I played Smash professionally too.
Oh, okay. Well,
Look,
all right.
I will bust your ass with Kirby.
Man,
I like Kirby. Kirby's one of my favorite players.
And then if shit gets serious, especially on the new Super Smash Bros., I'll bust your ass with Lucario.
I'll tell you what's dangerous, bro. Back in the day, going to Neil's Bar, they had Super Smash Brothers. Them cats that played at Neil's Bar, they would send your ass home crying. They was
Hey, look now,
tough.
and Mike can know that them tournaments we used to play in Elite College, man.
Oh, but you know what? I don't know if you remember this, but the guy that my cousin was dating at the time, the whole basketball team came up in there, and he was like, "Man, my homeboy Michael smashed all y'all." It was like, he don't even play basketball. No way. I killed every last one of them by 20 plus.
Oh, in 2K?
Hell yeah. And Todd.
Of course. We talking about Todd. Let's be real.
All right, man. Let me get up out of here.
All right, man. Hey, enjoy the show, dog.
Yes, sir.
Oh, that's good stuff. That's good stuff right there. I knew at some point he was gonna ask that question. We talk about that a lot. You changed his life with that ass whooping.
I played a lot of Marvel vs. Capcom at like the Washateria or like at the arcade at Fiesta, man. Like, I didn't want to walk around the store with my mom's shopping. I want to go play the game. So I get like a roll of quarters and I just be on there just mashing.
You know, that's back in the days where we didn't have to worry about kids getting snatched up.
Who the hell would want us back then? Nowadays, it's a real thing.
Yeah, like back then, they took me back home.
Man,
like,
there
man,
was an episode of Rugrats where Tommy got kidnapped and they sent his ass back home.
Hey, look, it'd be like that because I would have fucked around and turned into Chucky real quick. But nah, I love that. Like I said, I love, we've been able to, kind of have this conversation. It's good, like I said, for the people to, like I said, I love to peel back the curtain for people to see, so that when they continue to see us moving forward on all the episodes, they're like, oh yeah, man, I remember he was talking about that. Now, when they go back and look at, the fatherhood episode that you took part in with us, the men's mental health episodes that you took part of, it all culminates now because everybody can truly see what made you now to this day. So, all in all, if you were you now, your current age and everything like that, if you could go back and tell 18-year-old self you anything of importance, what would you tell them?
Man, that's a real good question because it's funny, a while ago, I had told myself if I could meet myself when I was younger, I wouldn't be that guy's friend because I felt like he was just, I'm not going to say a bad person, but just knowing how raw and unhealed and unhinged I was in my youth, I wouldn't want to deal with myself now, But honestly, I'd tell that young man, if I met my 18-year-old self, I'd tell him just be nicer to yourself, be gentler to yourself, man. Like, honest to Moses, like, I feel like that 18-year-old me needed a lot of love and guidance, and he just needed to love himself a little bit more too.
No, that's sound advice. I mean, a lot of us, we think back at how we were when we were, 16, 17, 18, and we was like, would I listen to myself? Oh, there's a lot of bullshit in there. But I like that. That's sound advice. Is there anything you would leave for the people?
Something funny or something serious, or I don't know.
Any of the above. I'm content with either of the above. I love all things.
Man, that's a good one. Here's my closing statement. Don't let nobody tell you what you're worth. You know what you're worth. Go out there and get it. You know, I know every now and then we need a swift kick in the ass to motivate ourselves, but don't ever let somebody put you down and make you feel like you're not worth what you're really worth.
That's
the
strong.
honest most truth. That's how I got to where I'm at now, because I didn't want somebody to tell me I was only worth so much when I knew I could do a hell of a lot more.
That, ladies and gentlemen, we call that a bar. That man dropped a bar for y'all. So, closing out the show very simply like this. First and foremost, I appreciate you for being here. I appreciate you for taking part in this with us. I love the fact that this is just, for me, it's just another thing for you and I to continue bonding over. So it meant a lot to me that when we had the discussion about you, you know, coming onto the round table, that you were genuinely excited about it. You know, like you're like, you know, absolutely. You know, you've been supporting the show since the very beginning, back in the audio days when we were still trying to kind of find our footing. And now we're here on the live stream platform doing things like this now. So having you here just, you know, just further amplifies, you know, the importance and the bond of what we talked about when it comes to things with our family and stuff. So again, I just want to express my complete gratitude and appreciation for you for that.
Man, I appreciate you having me here, and I appreciate you being my big brother. I think about our childhood memories all the time together, honest to Moses, man. So
Hey man, those
for
are
us to be here now, it's beautiful.
Just two kids playing video games all night to now both being girl dads. I can absolutely say cheers to that, sir. So, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Chapter 8 of the From the Sidelines Chronicles. You now have the full story of Mr. Outlaw. So coming soon, make sure y'all paying attention, because we got Chapter 9, which will be Rod's story, which should be another very interesting story. We got another girl dad. So something about these girl dads, man. We got some knowledge, we got some stuff we're gonna be dropping on y'all, but also making its epic comeback here very soon is gonna be another phenomenal round of 32. Now, what it will be over to be determined. You got to stay tuned. You got to find out about that. But make sure you tune in tomorrow. We got Player versus Team with Zamora and Willie. Another fire show on deck for them for sure. And of course, on Fridays, the best damn football show on the internet, Inside the Huddle. They're going to recap all things Super Bowl. Of course, they're going to talk about that craziness that happened at the parade today. If you haven't seen or heard what happened, obviously there was a shooting that took place and there were some injuries that went down. So they'll talk about that. Coming up next week on Gentleman's Talk, we are going to break down Usher's new album. We're going to talk about that halftime performance, and we are going to have a very special Real Talk segment where we are going to talk about the racial undertones of the national anthem. And I say that because while I was at my brother's house for the Super Bowl, after the national anthem was sung by Reba, and did a phenomenal job, by the way, so there's no hatred of any kind coming from me on that. The comments that I saw on social media following that was just insane to me. The things that I saw. So I will have a Real Talk segment to discuss that accordingly. So make sure you stay tuned for that. And I'm probably going to hurt somebody's feelings, but I also don't give a shit. So as always, I am the founder of Dilfs Incorporated. They call me Mr.GQ. And it's Mr. Outlaw Prime. Ladies and gentlemen, we out.
Motivation in you and inspire the world to do what you can. If you love it, then fuck it, get through it. Yeah. Mumble mentality activated. I waited for so long.